Hello apples and cherries and welcome to week 5 of your English. This week we are following on with the theme of Under the Sea and we are focusing on something called plastic pollution. The aim of this unit of learning is to explore the impact of plastic in our oceans and to make arguments for how we can make changes to our everyday life so that we can reduce the amount of plastic in our ocean. So by the end of the week, you will be able to effectively explain the importance of reducing plastic pollution in our oceans. So today we are going to focus on what plastic is and what we use it for. So by the end of this video, you will be able to identify objects that contain plastic. Some of you may then also be able to explain why we use plastic. Some of you then may even be able to start discussing the dangers of overusing plastic. This week, there's going to be a lot of big words that we are going to use, so we need to make sure we know what those words mean. The first word that I'd like us to think about is the word pollution. We use the word pollution quite a lot, but what does it actually mean? So pollution is when things are in the environment which has caused a harmful or poisonous effect. So harmful means that it's caused a bit of damage, and poisonous means that some of those things in our environment might not be able to survive. It's like a toxic chemical. So pollution is not a very good thing, and we don't want pollution in our world if we can help it. Then the next word is the word reduce. So we use this word quite a lot, and to reduce something is to make something smaller. So thinking about pollution, we want to reduce the amount of pollution in our oceans. So we want the pollution in our oceans to get smaller. Just to make sure that you know what an ocean is a large expanse of sea. So when we go to the seaside, we would go into the sea and we would swim in it. Those seas join together to make different oceans in our world. So we're thinking on a very big scale this week. We are thinking about the plastic pollution that is taking up the oceans world. Okay, so oceans are a large expanse, as large as the amount of our seas. And then we're thinking about the word plastic. What is plastic? Well, plastic is a material that we use to make lots of different objects. We have a lot of plastic in our life, and it is a material that is very useful, but it is also a material that's quite dangerous. And one word that we always use when we think about plastic is this word durable. Now, wonder what durable might mean. If something is durable, it is very strong and it lasts a long time. So think about paper. Paper can last a long time, but it is not very strong. It's easy to scrunch it up and it's easy to rip it. But if something is made of plastic, thinking of our 3D shapes that I showed you last week, they are very strong. I cannot squish them, I cannot break them, and they also would stay around for a long time because of how strong they are. And then the last word that we need to make sure we know the meaning of is the word environment. Now, our environment is something that we talk about a lot at the Coombes, and our environment will change depending on where we are. So at the moment, you are at home, and your home environment will be very different to your school environment. So what your environment is the surroundings in which you live or in which you are currently in. So when you are in school, you might be on the field, and your environment there is the grass on the floor and the woods around you. But if you were in the classroom, your environment would be the tables and the chairs and all the toys that are in the classroom. Right then, so the first thing we need to think about is, what is plastic? We have already discussed that plastic is a material that we can use to make lots of different things. And it's a very useful material. It's used for many different things in our everyday lives. And it's because it's used all the time, it's very helpful because it's cheap. And that means it doesn't cost a lot of money to make things plastic. It's also very strong and it doesn't fall apart very easily. So some of the things that we might know that is made of plastic that are very useful to us is our bridges. So when you go somewhere for a drive or for a walk, when you look at the bridges, they're made of lots of different materials, but one of the materials that is used in them is plastic. And that's because it's so strong and so lightweight, because we don't want there to be too much heavy stuff on a bridge. Another thing that we use a lot that is made out of plastic is Lego or Duplo. Lots of our toys are made from plastic, and that means that we can play with them for lots and lots and lots and lots of years, and they won't break down. And that is really good. Also, because they're made of plastic, they're very strong, they're easy to clean, and I know that in apples and cherry class, we have lots of Duplo that we play with a lot. There's also things like safety helmets. So if when you go past a construction site, you'll see the workers there wearing safety helmets, and the plastic in that is so strong that it protects their heads from getting hurt if something was to fall on them. We also use safety helmets when we ride our bikes or our scooters, or if we are if we've got some people that play sports, they might wear a safety helmet to keep them safe. Another thing that has plastic in is our goggles. Now I know lots of you love going swimming, and when you go swimming you don't want to get the water in your eyes, so you wear the goggles to stop it from getting through. And plastic is waterproof, so it won't let the water get through the goggles into your eyes. So you can see that plastic is actually very, very useful. However, some of these properties of plastic, being strong and lasting for a long time, mean that it can be very harmful to our environment. And because there's so much of it around, and because lots of it ends up in the bin or on the floor as litter, it means that the animals in our world are starting to get hurt by it. And our environment and our plants are starting to get hurt by it because it doesn't break down very easily. So the reason we like plastic is because it lasts a long time, but if we throw it away, it then takes a long time for it to break down. So let's just think about the good things about plastic, because we do need it in our lives. So it's durable, it's strong, it lasts a long time, and it means it's very practical for us to use in some of the things, so like the safety hats, like the goggles, like the bridges. Another thing is because it's strong, so it's durable, it lasts long, it's hard wearing, but it's also quite strong. You can make it very, very strong. We use a lot of plastic in our technologies. Now, technology is very important to us. If we didn't have technology, I wouldn't be able to do this video for you. So plastic is used in most of the technology that we use every day. So it's used in computers, it's used in mobile phones, it's used in our ovens. So it's very, very important because we need all of that for our everyday life. When you go to the supermarket, you might pick up some food that's got a film over it, and that film is made of plastic, and it's very, very thin, but it means that our food is preserved. So preserved means that it won't go off. That means we can travel around with it and our food won't go off. Now I know lots of you love cheese, and cheese is put inside some plastic, and that makes sure that the cheese doesn't go off, so you can have it for a lot longer and doesn't go mouldy. And also, because plastic is so durable and so strong and so long lasting, we can reuse it. And that's the important thing that I want us to be thinking about this week, is that not all plastic is bad. Lots of plastic ends up in our landfills, but it doesn't need to be there. Because if we use our plastic well, we can reuse it, so it doesn't have to get thrown away. Now, we talked about the good things about plastic, but there are some bad things about plastic. So, unfortunately, although plastic can be reused, there are lots and lots of plastic that is only used one time. So that's called single use. It's one time. So think about a plastic bag, for example, a carrier bag. They're very easy to come across, and sometimes we have to pay for them when we go to the shop. But once we're finished with them, they tend to be quite thin, and then they break, and then we put them in the bin. Now, unfortunately, because of that, that means that if every single person in our class did that, or every single person in our reception did that, that would be over 40 plastic bags put in the bin just in one day. And that is a lot of plastic that's going in the bin and then going to a landfill. There's also something called microbeads. So when you brush your teeth, or sometimes when you wash your face, that might have tiny, tiny little pieces of plastic inside it. And we won't see it, and you might say, oh, what's wrong with that? But there's tiny, tiny pieces of plastic. They get washed down our sinks, and then they end up in our oceans. And unfortunately, it looks the same as some of the food that the fish would eat. Now, would you want to eat plastic? No. It would really hurt our tummies, wouldn't it? So I don't think that it's a good idea that the fishes in the sea or the oceans are eating these tiny, tiny pieces of plastic. Not all of our toothpastes and face washes have it, so it's something that you can check on the back, and you can check whether or not it's natural, and that means that you can use it, and then it will break down the ocean and it won't hurt our sea creatures. Or you can check if inside it there are plastic things. And if there are plastic things, then it's best not to use them because we don't want them washed down our sinks and going into our oceans. And plastic can be really harmful to our environment because think about what I said with the plastic bags. They go in the bin. That ends up getting picked up by the bin men. That goes to a landfill. And on this landfill, there's heaps and heaps and heaps of rubbish. Now, some of this rubbish will break down naturally, and then it's made of natural things, and there'll be nice things that will go into the soil and that will help the plants grow. But when plastic breaks down, because it is made of different chemicals, those chemicals are toxic and they will cause problems and harm to our environment. And that means that plants won't be able to grow and animals will have bad tummies, and it just is not very good. So it'll be poisonous. And the other thing is, one of the good things about plastic was how long it lasts. But obviously, if we're just going to throw it away, it's going to take years and years and years to break down. And because it takes so long to break down, if we have a pile of plastic that's taking a long time to break down, that means that we've got piles and piles and piles of rubbish around our world. And we don't need that. And if it's in the sea or the oceans, it's going to take so long to break down that it's causing litter at the bottom of our oceans. And when you walk around on your daily exercise, do you like it if your environment is clean and has nothing on the floor, or do you like it if there's litter everywhere where people have just dropped their rubbish? I know, it's not very nice to look at that, is it? And it's not very good for our environment. So that's what it looks like at the bottom of our sea at the moment. It's completely littered with all the plastic rubbish. So your task today is to have a little think about the plastic that we have in our homes and go and find some of it. Now, I'm not saying that plastic is bad. We definitely need plastic. But what we need to think about is, how are we using this plastic? Are we getting something that's plastic and then throwing it away straight away? Do we need to do that, or can we reuse it? So think about, when you are making cakes, what do you put your cakes in? You could reuse a plastic tub that you have got from something else. And like I said, not all plastic is bad. There are some really good and useful things about plastic. So just down here in this box, you can write down the good things about plastic. And then at the bottom, can you write down the bad things about plastic, the things that we want to change? And that's what this week is going to be about, because this week is going to make us think about, how can we use plastic differently to reduce the amount of plastic pollution in our oceans. Thank you for listening today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.